milk that front line so they can handle the gray main. If you're looking over here on L5, I would love to have some more damage in the rotation, and they decide to go ahead and pick up the Li Ming.
I like the Li Ming pick here a lot. First, normally when we're talking about Infernal Shrines, we oftentimes highlight that Li Ming might not get quite the same value on this map as she does on other maps. But now that you're going up against the Sergeant Hammer, who would love to siege outside of the shrine, you have a really nice target pinned on her so that Li Ming can try and get a volley in, and then you only have to follow up with the rest of the damage. Also, since we already talked about the CC chains, this caters even more so towards Li Ming's strength, which is of course burst damage.
Would love to see a resistant pickup here for Sergeant Hammer. There's a lot of stuns and roots on the other side for L5. But it is interesting to see the choices that came in even after ETC. Mosh Pit will have to be a consideration at all times, especially as fights happen around the shrines.
That it will be, and it's time to get this series started, Gilly. Here on Infernal Shrines, in the right side, it's going to be MVP Black. Remember, they are down 1 game to the team on the opposing side, and who will that be, Gilly?
In the blue, it's L5. L5 having the most recent on-LAN victory over their rivals, MVP Black. It was a close one, and it was an elimination match, and eventually both did end up falling to Europe, to Team Dignitas.
Here we go, 5 seconds and counting. MVP Black already moving into talents, and at level 1, actually getting Regeneration Master here for the Sergeant Hammer. In theory, makes some sense here. Grab a few of the globes, you're able to handle some poke that could come your way from Li Ming. At level 7, you can also pick up that first aid, will help you bolster through that damage, so your support, Rhaegar here, can pay attention to both your tanks and, of course, Genji.
Yeah, evidence, more evidence that Sake wants to be rotating around as much as possible between lanes and picking up a lot of those regen globes. Stun has been thrown out on SDE. Just poking back and forth here for now until someone can see potentially a place to catch someone, and it looks like that might be SCSC.
SCSC baited over the wall there with Reset dashing away. Might be first blood. Greymane being taken out, and L5 is hurting as Hooligan takes some damage as well.
Reset will go in and claim the life of ETC to get the second kill of the game. That sets up MVP Black nicely to get a great start as well on the rotations. They're even aggressively going in after Arthas on Jungha.
Trying to stop that rotation up, maybe get some minions pushed in with that Leoric, but Zhonghua will be able to finally get to that top lane, and we gotta call it out. Reset on the Genji, setting up that first initial kill, following up onto ETC. This is something that we saw a couple of matches ago against Tempest and of course CE. Genji is going to be a threat here. Reset does not mind moving in and showing that hyper aggression.
Reset is such an incredible player. When I started to get to see him when he moved over from MVP Miracle to MVP Black, I loved seeing the kind of heroes he prioritized for the team. Things like Vala, Li Ming, and then, of course, once Genji came out, Genji as well. Heroes that toe the line between melee and a ranged assassin, and he plays that so well. His positioning sometimes ends up getting him punished, but more often than not, he is always set up to make sure that he is looking past the first kill and to make sure that he does get resets.
We'll keep an eye on him as L5 is hoping to answer back. SESC chasing on for Kyocha, but Sake with the wonderful body block by Sergeant Hammer. Maybe she is a tank. Tis jumping out as well.
Tank Sake making sure to get Kyocha out alive. Kyocha does have lightning bonds, so they want to make sure that he can be there to help clear out the waves as fast as possible, but it is a pure brawl in this game, number 1. Reset taking a lot of damage as the first shrine has been started.
Hooligan finding his opportunities. Reset able to get out. Swoi was being chased down as well, with Sake coming in on the rotation, using the thrusters even to help out with the fight. But don't forget, the shrine has proc to the very top. Zhonghua already grabbing a nice 14 minions to give L5 a nice little cushion while they set up for MVP Black.
Now, MVP Black want to come up and ideally stall this as long as they can, but Sake has been caught. Don't see any thrusters being used, and Kyocha and Tis going into body block means they were not online, and she'll get punished for it.
Now, this is the control that you expect to have against a Sergeant Hammer. They take a slow rotation, especially if they use the thrusters. Thrusters being down, Sake gets caught, and MVP Black hurting for the moment. But look at the experience. A slight lead here as Leoric is going for that Royal Focus build, focusing on clearing both the middle and bottom lane.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was mentioning, is that MVP Black just wants to stall. They're not going to take this shrine. They never had that in mind. They just wanted to stall as long as they could and push back and forth the lanes with the Royal Focus. It is unfortunate that they lost Sake. They don't get the
True.
same kind of lead that they would have otherwise, but they're still going along with their plan and not deviating immediately just because they did lose their Sergeant Hammer.
So Rich here on the side harassing SESC. When you do get that Royal Focus, remember you get that extra damage on your cleave, and it's actually solid enough that you beat Greymane in a duel, especially post level 13. So you're seeing the power there from Rich as he handles that Greymane, who's hoping to soak out the middle and bottom. Towards the top, Punisher does push in. One lone turret will be taken out, a second one getting low as well. But when you have a Sergeant Hammer station is sitting underneath the fort, kind of hard to push into.
Now, a lot of our Western audience might be watching this and have watched through the draft and been surprised to see that Sergeant Hammer pick, but it's always a possibility for Korean teams, and especially someone like Sake, sometimes even with L5 with SCSC. It's just a pocket pick that they can pull out, maybe even sometimes on Battlefield of Eternity. We've seen that once in this tournament already, as a way of being able to siege up and control a zone so effectively. Speaking of control, poor Li Ming meets her fate.
Reset showing on full display while mages have kind of fallen out of the meta, especially in the Western scene here. Having that low health pool and the lack of mobility, even Li Ming's mobility is not enough to handle Genji diving the tower and taking her out. Li Ming will have to think twice before setting up next time. And back to your Sergeant Hammer point. Yes, MVP Black loves playing the Sergeant Hammer. In fact, this was a meta for a few weeks. Gosh, I would say nearly 6 weeks in HGC Season 1. But hang on here. Engage happening. Tist in trouble. As he's on the left side, going to be a big power slide reset using the deflect with the cleanse.
Gets out just barely. A lot of the mobility has been used, but the damage has been done. MVP Black, with that 1 kill on SDE and forcing rotation up from L5, used that Sergeant Hammer immediately to start sieging down some of the structures. And that not only sets them up with an experience advantage, but they're looking forward toward later on when they can control shrines and get them. If they don't have to worry about the forts in the way, they can focus on more important structures like the keeps.
Leoric playing the Royal Focus build correctly, and this makes me so happy. We've seen the Royal Focus build at least 5 times this tournament, and every time that I look at and engage, Leoric is always moving in and trying to force a 5v5. This is how you play Leoric when you're running for the Royal Focus, trying to clear out the middle and the bottom, get your team an experience lead. And MVP Black has an entire level set up. Now, don't get me wrong, with the Royal Focus build, you can still dive that back line, put some pressure in, but use it in the early game towards your advantage, and Rich right now showing the full understanding of this build.
Trixler might, while you may not be able to rely on Rich to play Murky, you can at least rely on him to play the Royal Focus build.
Owes me $10, Gilly, and I'm going to get that $10 from him.
I believe it. Maybe with his hard-earned prize winnings,
That's
if
right.
he's able to win this grand finals here. But they'll have to win 4 games because they are behind initially. Reset falling quite low in health, and L5 will be able to take him out with the power slide in.
Yeah, this is the one concern when you're not playing with that Leoric, because you have to watch out for these 5-man converges on your opponent. Now, we thought Reset had a chance there to maybe get the perfect defense, jump out from the fight, but he got stunned there from Uther right in the middle of his jump, which allowed for L5 to swarm him and get the kill. MVP Black does bring Rich down towards the bottom shrine, though, with that 10-level advantage. They're hoping to clear it out.
Clever use of Entomb. It's a low cooldown just to deny SCSC from getting back healing up as fast as possible. And that plus the heroic abilities from MVP Black enables them to make sure that they still get the shrine. And with the Sergeant Hammer, they're looking to put a lot of damage in right here.
And this is where Sergeant Hammer can be quite the thorn in any side of a fort. He's going to set up here, break down the turrets, and sit on the outskirts of range. Luckily for L5, they of course drafted the Li Ming. She can poke from the side, but Kyoto doing a really good job of staying near Sake to provide the heals. Here comes Reset with the Dragon Blade. They're looking at Hooligan.
There's the wind up. Hooligan getting low. One more focus attack. Got the auto attack. Reset gets knocked back, and Hooligan stays alive. Now Jung Ha's moving in. They have heroic abilities, and there are a lot of MVP Black deep in the lines of L5.
Army of the Dead has been popped. Here's Greymane as well. SDSC, he charges in. He's going to kill on Murden. The fort has fallen, but L5, they have a chance to chase. But Sake, he boosts on out. He says goodbye and deuces.
We are happy with the fort. We will gladly sacrifice our TIS to make sure that we can take out the fort. We are fully focused on structures. We're MVP Black. We like to fight. It's just that this game, we're fighting your forts instead of you.
What a crazy way to look at this game when you compare it to the first Eastern Clash, where L5 was playing the style that MVP Black is currently showcasing right now. Instead of full full-fledged aggressive team fighting. We have them controlling the battleground. It's such a lovely way to see this team just change up their style.
Even changing it up in the middle of this tournament, they came in very stubborn in their drafting. They never played double warrior. You would never think of the likes of Rich playing a Leoric, and yet they adapted. They were forced to when they lost to Tempest earlier on and were forced through the gauntlet of the lower bracket. Now they come in, they have another chance. They are 1 game down, but they still are looking to bring it to L5.
That's right. It's all about the next Punisher here as L5 grabs their mercs a little bit on the Illyria side. Should be seeing that from MVP Black in the top right soon with the Shrine about to pop on up, which should allow for them to push forward, get level 13, and control the Shrine a little bit better. Their macro play at this point has given them such a nice advantage that as long as Sergeant Hammer plays safe and moves correctly around the battleground, they should be fine. And that all comes down to Rhaegar making sure to keep her alive.
Rich has been caught, immediately find him as soon as he pops out of Wraithwalk, but making sure that he can cheat death as fast as he can by hanging out and, of course, giving some vision to the rotations of L5. While MVP Black still work toward that level 13 and having the advantage, but that kill does help L5 catch up so that they can contest the next shrine.
Yeah, significantly. With their ability to soak and them getting half a level here, they're closer to 13, which will give them a chance to actually fight around that shrine. And this is where I actually kind of worry about MVP Black. When Rich started losing multiple times in his lane, started getting picked off, that's where we saw them take their losses in this tournament. Will Rich clear his mind here and make sure to play on the safe side with that lead Warwick? So far, he's doing just great, but with 1 or 2 picks, you can definitely see MVP Black start to fall.
Yeah, that's always the issue when you have a new member come in, and although Rich has played with Kyocha, with Sake before, he is new to Tist and Reset. They haven't had that long together, and honestly, they haven't really had that many losses together. They've never been under fire the way they have in this Eastern Clash, and that trial by fire is the best way that you're able to forge together teamwork, but it always does come at a cost, at least initially.
Well, L5 has grinded their way back, and they're hoping to get into an engage. Rich already starting the clear here, 28-7 already in favor of Black. Rich taking damage, Rich getting low, SC goes in. Tits will be able to drop a nice variation on the side here, but look for Reset with the Dragon Blade.
He's got the Dragon Blade, and Rich receives the Ancestral Healing, so MVP Black are ready to brawl. Divine Shield with a zoning mosh from Hooligan, but nobody caught, and it's interrupted. Li Ming is the first to fall, means no resets really, and especially with Greymane going down. Hooligan will fall, giving Reset another chance.
And Swoy gonna be killed as well. MVP Black comes into that area, finds a concave, and they handle the concave so well that L5 got pinched against the wall and eventually picked off. The team fight for MVP Black right now is outstanding.
It seems like whenever they draft something where Rich can be somewhat of a threat, Reset can be a real threat, but always going back and forth, and then Sake is free to shell out damage, whether it's Sergeant Hammer or a Gul'dan, MVP Black looks unstoppable. You just cannot deal with all of the threats that they are putting out.
This is where it gets worse here, too. With Giant Killer coming online, 2 talent levels down with 16 about to hit, MVP Black Sergeant Hammer is quite the menace at destroying that front line. And you mentioned Reset already coming aside. You have to worry about the opposing tank killer destroying your tanks while your back line gets shredded by Genji. L5 will have a difficult task of finding the coordination to go in for that fight and actually land something important. Where it starts is probably jumping on top of Kyocha, but he's been playing Rhaegar in a miraculous way so far, sitting on the back line, staying near Sergeant Hammer, and never getting caught.
Yeah, while some Rhaegar players have had issues with learning to play more passively
Hide.
with the change, right, with the change up of no longer being able to ancestral healing yourself, right? Kyocha doesn't know that. Kyocha came in to Rhaegar in his current iteration, and Kyocha has always favored, since switching to support, to be more passive, but oh my goodness, as we're conversing, Reset is dominating.
Goodbye, Li Ming, and L5 might have to say goodbye as well, as SCSC is focused down. Divine Shield will delay this kill for a moment. SCSC is able to get away. Hooligan with the power slide too will guide his team behind into keep wall territory, but still, you saw how quickly Li Ming, if she ever oversteps, even with Illusionist, just falls.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if we'll see a diamond skin. Sometimes it happens in Korea just to try to withstand Reset being on top of you with that Dragon Blade, but so far, nothing has been able to help her really. They use a Divine Shield on her once, but then someone else falls, having only Uther to try to protect this go for the throat Greymane, and a Li Ming so far has not worked out the best for L5.
L5 is just being dismantled right now. Look at the mini-map. MVP Black controls everything. Minion waves in the middle, top and bottom continue to push in and just color the battleground, which allows MVP Black to position aggressively. Tist ready on the side here for a flank. Hooligan actually didn't even see him until now as Tist plays around the fog of war.
The camp's been grabbed. Hooligan's going to go in. Actually, Kyocha jumps into the mosh pit, and this might be the chance that L5 has been looking for as they bring down Genji and Rhaegar.
Impressive play there from Hooligan, and this is why this guy has become such an amazing tank for me. He moves in and does the predictive engage there from Genji, gets the power slide into the mosh pit, and MVP Black is going to lose 3 members. Tis taking some time here to distract his opponents, but 16 is finally here for L5.
They get 16, and now Tis just trying to die as fast as he can. He did delay some time initially, but there's a shrine active, and that was quite a delay. 30 seconds, 20 seconds, nope, 30. I can do math, separating him from being back up with the rest of the MVP Black, and that is time, valuable time that L5 needs to get back into this game.
They're going to utilize this time as well as they can as they jump right on top of the shrine, clearing it out, getting a nice little lead already, and also doing their best to prep their waves. They're sitting top lane, already up to the top right, so if they wanted to, they didn't have to push in the middle. They could break open the forts, threaten keep possibilities. They got bottom lane pushing decently already, and all they have to do is finish this Punisher and then make sure to clear out the Mercs pushing in the top lane, but they still have keeps here, and they have a dream.
L5's still sticking together, even though there are only a couple of camps where MVP Black possibly could be. This has been a trademark for L5 in general, unless they have Jiangha on something like a Dahaka where they feel more confident that he can brush talk in. They like to make sure that they can stick together, especially knowing that Mosh Pit was down. And that has allowed Rich to do a lot of damage to this bottom lane, and Reset's getting the camp in the bottom. So that will be a pressure point that MVP Black might be able to abuse later.
L5 are deciding to go ahead and push in for an engage, simply because of the build that Leoric has. He wins 1v1s. They're moving in on the Tist, but Tist is just taking the damage here with Kyocha on the back line, bringing out the heals and Avatar State being used. Hooligan is getting low on health. Ancestral will be used.
Oh, it was used, but it didn't connect. Genji was blown up in the blink of an eye, and now MVP Black, without their Genji, are crumbling in this fight. Tist, rooted by Jiangha, will also go down. Giving more time. SDE.
Are they going to get Sake? They're trying for it, but he is going to live. Leoric was actually on his way for a massive flank, but L5 realizing, okay, Leoric's not here. We don't have to worry about Entomb. They go in for the engage, and they obliterate Genji, who was the most important kill. Then they can move in for Sergeant Hammer and Rhaegar. I was actually doubting the shot call here. I thought maybe they were sending 2 people back home, defend, make sure to soak for level 20, but they made the decisive, aggressive call that gave them a little bit more control. They're still behind in experience, but now they have 30 seconds to soak all the waves.
They do, but MVP Black, along with being ahead toward 20, also still have 2 forts. And that's the problem with the objective of the Infernal Shrines, is you are reliant on the Punisher to be able to push forward and take out keeps unless you can get a miracle wipe like the last one. So L5, not out of it by any stretch of the imagination, because they have had time now to soak their way up to 20. They will be able to contest the next Punisher, and they got the last one. But they still definitely want to take out as many forts as they can.
Yes, they would. They got to open up the map, and that's going to be done through the Punisher. Their hope is that the next Punisher won't be in the bottom lane. If MVP Black does win it, they can push in with that keep wall being already there, move in for a keep, and if Sergeant Hammer gets set up, could be core or additional keep. So L5 setting everything he can for the waves. Top lane pushing in. They have hit level 20, and they are sharking around. I'm looking at Hooligan. What's he going for that level 20? There's always the Bolt. You can move in, go for an aggressive play. We've seen Torbus, which can always be good if Sergeant Hammer uses her thrusters and comes back into the fight afterwards. But we'll see here as 20 still lingers.
Even a death battle, if he feels like he can pick it when a team is focusing him down. If MVP Black feels like with their giant killer, he would be the optimal target for them. He has been sort of the focus before as he leads the charge, but that's the great thing about an ETC, and an ETC who is confident in his ETC play is that he can last second pick that depending on the situation.
Ooh, unfortunate here for L5. It will be the bottom shrine that is spawning. MVP Black would love to get the shrine and push in and move in towards the keep, so L5 must contest, and they have set up well here. For anyone that might be sharking around, Hooligans on the right side, Sake wanting to move forward, but he has to poke first.
Reset checking the brush. SCSC will go in, and that does force the deflect. They're just trying to bait out as many cooldowns from each other as they can. Shrine activating.
He's checking here. I'm watching Tist. He'll be the one to engage for MVP Black, with Rich following up with an Entomb if they do decide to engage. SCSC and crew actually look scared here. They're poking with their cocktails.
Jungha leading the charge, seeing who we can catch with a Howling Blast in a difficult choke, especially if that's Sake, Reset, or Kyocha. He finds Tist, forcing him back, and they're going to step onto the point. Very close in Skeletal Defenders.
Incredibly tense between our two teams. MVP Black holding a nice concave. L5 trying to find a way to funnel in while Hooligan keeps getting poked here. Swoi is being delayed in terms of his heals. He keeps trying to use him on ETC.
And an Entomb is dropped, making the Divine Shield and Army of the Dead both be used. Reset sees an opportunity and uses the Dragon Blade.
He's going in, he's slashing. The Ancestor Healing comes out, but here is a mosh pit. They turn around, they focus Genji. It's going to be the tour bus. Genji still has a follow, but Hooligan gets on Sergeant Hammer. 1-for-1, Greymane and Genji.
Greymane and Genji are both down. Those are two big damage dealers, but the Punisher has been nabbed by L5, and MVP Black need to get out of here. They do not want to be stomped on by this Punisher, but MVP Black sees Swoi as an opportunity to kill him. He is getting so low, but uses the self-heal. He lives!
He's going to be able to make it here. 2 important kills. They're looking for Rich as well. Rich will be able to Wraith walk away. Swoi still low on health, can tap himself off. They're going to keep moving in here towards the 4, a full health Punisher. They have 4 versus 3, which is still okay for MVP Black. Remember that Sergeant Hammer, as long as she stays alive, she's got that range.
That tour bus from Hooligan was absolutely outstanding. Recognizing that, okay, Genji is done, we need to reset this and move forward with the power slide so that they can make sure and try to get Sake. It didn't end up working out. In the end, Sake got away, but now MVP Black at least know what the capabilities of Hooligan are because he picked that up.
That's right. The threat was good enough. And L5 deciding with Genji spawning, it is not worth it to sit here and allow for him to poke you down as you move across the map for your escape. Even with the Sergeant Hammer, it would be just enough. They pull away, get a little bit of keep damage, and we've got a game on our hands, Gilly.
Still no keeps down at 20 minutes into Infernal Shrines. The later this gets, the harder those Punishers hit, the scarier death timers hit. And we don't have a mouth heal this time, so nobody's stopping death this time.
Kind of an odd spot here for L5. Obviously, you want to grab the Punishers, but the most optimal one that would actually help you out here is in the middle lane. You'll be able to at least threaten keeps, as MVP Black had such a good early game, a strong mid game. They still have one lone fort to the top right corner that they can use for an extra layer of defense if a Punisher comes their way. So for now, it's all about wave control, setting up, making sure that you have waves pushing towards your opponent, so you'll be good to go and actually contest that full shrine.
Yeah, it's been cool to see Rich prioritize that top lane so much because they know it is a frustration point for L5 that they haven't been able to take out that far. And in fact, L5 are posturing up, taking out the Shaman that were grabbed by MVP Black and getting their own, and setting up in a way that makes it look like maybe they are considering just trying to take that down the old-fashioned way.
Hooligan on his ETC, moving to the middle here, assuming they might see somebody come in for rotation. Once they realize all 5 of the teammates are here, they clear it safely. MVP Black in the top right corner. Look at where Genji and Murden is. If we see L5 move towards the top lane in any aggressive manner, they have the pounce. They can hop in and force a fight. But L5 runs to the bottom, constantly moving in. In fact, they may threaten to keep here that they saw Leork in the top lane.
Yeah, genius that they use that mercenary camp to get a even nicer target, the keep. And that should scare MVP Black enough that MVP Black now has been seen clearing out this mid. Hooligan goes, he's looking to strike. Reset using the Dragon Blade as a way to get away.
Dragon Blade being used here. Turns around for the slash. L5 looking for the escape. Rich is on his way. He wouldn't mind coming in for an Entomb and landing that on Arthas even. Bring out that Drain Hope, but with Dragon Blade being utilized here by MVP Black. That is one massive heroic that is down. Li Ming's going to be happy about that.
Yeah, she will be ecstatic to know that that's not going to be back for another 85 seconds. MVP Black still want to fight over the shrine despite not having that Dragon Blade. We'll see how it works out for them.
Sake taking poke, focusing down whatever tank he can here. Hooligan does have a power slide up. Tisk holding the bush on the side here while Rich and Reset work on grabbing minions. A Howling Blast will connect, but it's not the moment. Hooligan's not going in yet.
Tisk uses Avatar. A lot of us, or L5, starting to go back. And
Reset
goes down. Reset low, but has deflect.
Ancestral Healing being used, so Wei will be focused down. He has Redemption. Can he keep Hooligan alive? Hooligan turns around and drops a Mosh Pit into the power slide. Missing out, though. MVP Black taking out multiple members. Two have fallen here. Uther does come back, but Greymane is low.
But SDE got the reset off of Genji, and now 2-4-1 in favor of L5, where initially the tour bus missed. It looks like maybe L5 weren't going to be able to win. They still get the second kill on Genji, and that is huge for what it means for the Shrine.
Greymane was falling down there, and now it's going to be a 2-for-1, especially with Uther coming back on that Redemption. Tisk is a main target as he is in the front for Zhonghua. He turns around, he hits the Howling Blast. It is on Sergeant Hammer, but here comes Li Ming as she gets one big combo on Murden, and he will fall.
And that is another staggered death just before Rich could come back in and make this a 4v4. L5 are going to back off, step back, giving MVP Black some time to get some skeletal defenders.
Seems like Li Ming wants to grab some mana. She was getting relatively low here. Wants to maybe come back on the later side. Deciding to play on the safer side instead of moving in for the Shrine. I can get the idea as Leoric with Spectral Leech, of course, very strong against an Arthas in particular. We do have the minion wave in the bottom lane, though, that has to be cleared up as it has done some damage to the keep. But here's Sergeant Hammer to clear it up.
Yeah, so it looks like L5 were willing to say they have to deal with bottom. They don't have Murden. So they are not going to have their full capabilities, even if they get this Punisher. And we can even get a kill on Rich. Granted, it's Rich, it's Leoric, so we can come back faster. But it is still, L5 feel completely confident in being able to just clear up this Punisher without it really even getting to their structures.
Well, Greymane back here. They're 5v1ing this Punisher. Gotta watch out for the big jump. Clumping a little bit too more for my taste than I would enjoy here. There's a big jump. It will hit Hooligan. And then kind of back towards the keep at around half health. They can actually save their keep. Keeping up with the poke, the cocktail's coming out, and Li Ming and crew will do a solid job of holding the line.
I don't know if I've ever seen such amazing patience. 25 minutes into a game to say, let's just let them get the Punisher because we have already gotten a lot. We've already almost taken out the bottom keep. It's a risky decision, but one that looks to pay off. The keep starting to fall lower in health, though. MVP Black look keen not to give it up.
Sake taking damage here. The Howling Blast hits, and the cleanse will be late. Hooligan goes in with the Divine Shield into a mosh pit. He does hit Genji, but he turns around. He's looking at Rhaegar. The son of Rhaegar will hit, but Li Ming has already fallen.
Oh no, the tour bus actually let Reset get out, and that is what let him Dragon Blade Li Ming to death. Now he takes out Greymane. Hooligan falls to an auto attack, and Reset is wiping the floor with L5.
A misfired tour bus may be the reason why L5 loses this game. In fact, it's looking like it as MVP Black charges towards the core, and they're going to start burning it down here, moving through the armor, knocking it lower and lower. It's down to 80%, and Gilly, this is looking like it's game.
A 5-man team wipe spells the end of the game for MVP Black. They will take a victory, and with the one game that L5 already had going into this series, ties it up 1-1.
Pretty insane series that we had there, and I think it proves one for all that Sake is actually a tank player at heart.
That he is, man. The great body blocks, incredible to see as well. Man, seeing that matchup, it was so incredibly close. We had such a good early game from MVP Black, but that late game became crazy.
The early game was absolutely insane. They had a 3-level lead, and it looked absolutely dominant. And what really turned it around, I think, was over and over in every fight Hooligan. The mosh pits, the first mosh pit that he got enabled them to get a triple kill. They closed the gap. All of a sudden, they could get objectives. They were pushing with them. And then later on in every single fight, it was just the battle between him trying to get the mosh pit and the tour bus, and of course, on the other hand, then Sake with a potential interrupt.
Well, Kaldar, why don't you break down a couple of the key moments you found for us to look at from that game?
There were actually quite a few, but we have 2 replays that we can definitely take a closer look at, and it's mostly about the mosh pits that I already pointed out. Now, this was one of the fights that we had early on the Shrines, and well, early on level 20. It was a long game. So first of all, we had the Entomb, and they are trying to take Arthas down. The Divine Shield comes out, but this is where Hooligan in the back is already waiting for a potential mosh pit, and this is what really turned everything here. So he gets the first mosh, and just at that moment, Genji is actually safe, but you can see how he goes with the Turbas in, and this is where everything turned then against MVP Black. Was incredibly well executed on their part, kept them in that fight, they get the Mortar Punisher, and then they can just chase them down one after another. I would say the saving grace for MVP Black in that situation is that they did such a great job with the infrastructures early on in the game. They held on to many of their forts, and that just basically resulted in the Punishers on the side of their opponent of L5 not getting as much value as they really were hoping for. And in this case, we see a second situation was all the way up at the end, and you can really tell Hooligan wants the mosh pit. Everyone knows that it's going to come. I love how Rich now uses Entomb to make sure that Hooligan just doesn't get the value. It's the Holy Cow with the Divine Shield, but just because of Rich's Entomb, they couldn't get the value that they needed out of that combo. If this combo hits without Rich dropping his ult, I think L5 could probably have saved the game, at least for now, and try to delay it to the next shrine.
Yeah, it even seemed like there was a slight miscommunication by SC and Reset. They had two different targets they were trying to focus on, where we had Li Ming jump on top of the Genji, trying to take him out there, while SC didn't jump on top of the Genji. He went over to the Rhaegar instead, and spreading your damage, obviously, in that scenario just didn't quite work out.
I love those two highlights that you picked because it is essentially the same exact thing. Turbas initially hits Genji, except the first time Genji gets low enough that they're able to take him out, and the second time, once you Turbas, Genji is still healthy enough that he can go back in with Dragon Blade and take out Li Ming. So that was really cool. Thank you for that. We've got map number 2 ready, or for game number 2, and we'll see what that is going to be. L5 choosing to have, very likely, yes, first pick, and MVP Black have chosen Cursed Hollow.
Cursed Hollow. So we normally haven't seen as much Abathur, but as of late, the last couple days, he's becoming more and more useful for a lot of our teams, it looks like, and this is a battleground that you can see him on.
Yeah, Abathur is definitely an option, but what I'm personally looking for, first of all, I want to say that the draft on map number 1 for MVP Black was really cool, the way that they designed it just a little differently. They played it extremely well. But what I want to see is now where Genji comes into play, because I really would love for L5 to either ban or pick him here, since the situation that we saw now is over and over again the same. Genji on the side of MVP Black just doesn't lose. I feel in the last game there were a couple of other actors that really made the game, but the impact that he has still is incredible.
Well, here, they may have the chance to actually pick him as a first pick, as MVP Black decides that Illidan's a little bit too strong and they ban him out, but L5 instead picks up the Ariel.
Swoy's Ariel is the Ariel that CE said they felt like they first realized the power of this support. But unfortunately, you only get one ban, so there's only so many things you could keep from your opponents, and Illidan is a smart one. L5 have won both of their games in Cursed Hollow, and they've even picked it, so it is a favored battleground for them, which is a little bit surprising that MVP Black were willing to pick it here, but maybe just wanting to get it out of the way.
Did they go Genji into a support? Yeah. They do. Genji into Uther.
And I want to highlight this really quickly. Uther was a hero that the Korean teams coming into this did not really prioritize highly, especially when compared to the Western meta. Now, all of a sudden, we are seeing Uther over and over again early on in these drafts. Granted, on a lower priority than Oriel, but they really respect at this point Uther's utility against an Illidan, against an Genji through stuns, but also what he offers with the Divine Shield. And in this case, now partnering up with Genji, that first pick especially doesn't really surprise, given how successful MVP Black is here.
It may be that they think that one of the best ways to beat Oriel is to get that Genji full-on and dive with an Uther Divine Shield and just focus the hyper carry, period. And that's why they actually pick him up here instead of moving into the Rhaegar, which we've been seeing a little bit more the last few days.
MVP Black also has ways of dealing with Ariel. We've seen it work both effectively and not so effectively, but with the Gul'dan. So we'll see if that is a possible consideration for them. Not necessarily a Gul'dan battleground as something as much as Shrines or even Tomb, but they do, it always seems like when they allow Ariel through, it's with a plan in mind.
So SCSE and that Vala is not going to be available here. It's interesting. A lot of the metas we would look at and say, ban out the Lunara. Vola's a little bit on the weaker side, but when it comes to the Korean meta, Vola has been outstanding the last couple days.
Yeah, it's definitely true. And not only it's not only for me personally about what Oriel is going to be paired up with now on the side of L5, but looking at their ban, I want to know if they are targeting Rich, since we had him on very specific heroes throughout the entire tournament, and one of the key heroes that he played was Illidan. And Illidan is already taken away. The Haka, which he oftentimes deviated into, is picked on the other side. So typically you would think now about Malthiel being picked. He played a lot of Medivh, and we've seen him also on Chen. But this is the 3 heroes that we can, I think, expect from Rich to be taken here. And L5 could try and target it, but they're more worried about the global. They're trying to deny it to MVP Black, since they already have the Haka in their setup.
On the topic of Vola, SCSC has been an incredible Vola for a long time. Even at BlizzCon, he averages 5.8 kills per game on her, and it seems like he's incredibly consistent on Vola, but hasn't been able to win with Lunara. So this seems more so even that MVP Black understands. They know L5. They know them like the back of their hand. So L5, their Lunara just isn't quite as potent as their Vola.
No, I totally agree here. I like the ban. It was just more making a comparison to what we've seen in the past.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It's good that they are adapting here. Here's L5. Here's what they play well.
Right.
Get rid of it. And so now we no longer have the Vola, but finally we're seeing Stitches back again here for MVP Black.
I'm loving Stitches here in this setup. First of all, they have Uther already, so finally there's that follow-up that we've been asking for so long after the hook. And you combo it off with Greymane. And Greymane overall is just absolutely fantastic. We pointed out at this tournament how we have a few different playstyles. You can spec more into the walk-in form, especially, of course, if you're trying to be also very dominant around camp control. But after you get the hook in and the stun on Uther, getting that curse bullet and then just trying to blow the target piece, this is exactly what they can do with this now. Stitches has in the last 3 series fallen off a little bit, but he's making his comeback now in the finals.
So Gilly, are we going to see a Lunara or a Cassia here from L5?
My guess would be Cassia.
Yeah.
Just knowing the teams, even seeing how highly prioritized Cassia has been.
Yeah, and that's why I think we see the Stitches pick here right away, just so they have a tool to get that Cassia, bring her in, get some lockdown, go for the kill. But L5 is actually going to adjust it up, Muradin and Lunara.
And that is so cool that they pick Lunara, since they stated openly that they don't prioritize Lunara because she has a lack of escapes. They didn't really believe in her leap on level 10 to be the only tool for her to get out, and always prioritized Vala, who is now banned by Black. But that L5 actually now adjusts their draft, despite them saying originally, not really our kind of hero, is absolutely awesome. I love to see how they are going to fare with her in the next game.
Well, they're going to need to believe in her here, but she is against Uther, which is a classic pairing against Uther, because he is very cooldown based and has a hard time sometimes dealing with her poison damage, especially as it scales harder and harder into the late game. I'm also pumped to see MVP Black once again get Greymane. We've seen some reset Greymane, but Sake was kind of the original Greymane when you look way back last year in Korea. He became known as Wolf because of his Greymane, and we get Rich's Zeratul. My, we are in for a game.
I am loving this. I did not expect them to go into the Zeratul, but I'm absolutely sold. Yes, you pick him into Tassadar, which makes it a bit harder with your movement. But with everything that they have now, the one-shot potential is insane. And also the isolation tools that they have after Hook with a Void Prison. And there's so many targets on the other side. You can jump on Oriel, you can go for Lunara. So I'm absolutely loving what they're drafting here.
Yeah, Oriel is going to have to be on point with the ages. As Zeratul and Genji comes in to jump on top of Lunara, or even a Tassadar after a Dimensional Shift, you have to save him there, or the team fight is just done.
Scary, scary point to be in for L5.
And Rich has definitely shown that he has the skills and the tools to make that Zeratul into a terrifying weapon.
That he has. Here he is on his Zeratul. MVP Black winning the last game. They are Kyocha, Tist, Rich, Sake, and Reset.
On the left side, in the blue, it will be L5, currently tied 1-1 against